Do you know that Mercedes is going to change its team? What hint has Mercedes boss Toto Wolff given regarding this? In this video we're going to cover why Mercedes is all set to make changes in its team, following the announcements that it was giving up the current Formula 1 car design concept. What is Mercedes' next move? If you're an F1 fan, then stay tuned till the end of the video so that you don't miss out on anything important. James Allison and Mike Elliott, two key members of Mercedes' management staff for the Formula 1 season, have switched positions. Unexpectedly, Elliott will take over as Chief Technical Officer as Allison transitions back to his job as Technical Director, 20 months after being promoted to the CTO position. The adjustment led by Elliott comes as Mercedes targets a return to the top of the sport in an effort to adjust to a change in regulations from the previous year that left them lagging Ferrari and more noticeably Red Bull. With the shift, Allison, who had previously worked 3 days a week in his CTO job, will have a more active role with the Formula 1 car, while continuing part of his previous involvement with the America's Cup project. Toto Wolff has previously maintained that the team will change its approach to cars this season, and the CEO of Mercedes-Benz detailed how the surprise job switch came about. This was very much driven by Mike Elliott owning the process, he told Autosport. So we switch roles. Mike has been promoted to CTO since he has a great scientifically aware mind. James Allison has resumed his duties as technical director and reports to Mike. Elliott, whose no sidepod design and Mercedes' resultant lack of speed and porpoising issues last year drew criticism, and now will concentrate on broader organisational development for a technological standpoint. When it comes to James, Wolff said Mike's assessment was that we have a gladiator on the pitch and the troops are going to go through the fire for him and with him. The introspection is really admirable. Mike came to the conclusion that his method of thinking and skill set are best used in growing the organisation moving forward, from technical to human capabilities, and putting together the framework that can be successful for many years to come. It involves building a system that can continue to function successfully into the next generation. The technological breakthroughs, artificial intelligence and machine learning are all undergoing significant change. In addition, consider what innovations might be included into the organisation and structure of a modern Formula 1 team. Mike feels himself at his sweet spot there, and it goes without saying that he is a tremendously skilled engineer who is well liked and respected inside the company. The most senior people will use him as a coach and training partner, and I'm actually really happy that Mike made his choice on his own to assume this role, with both he and James coming to this conclusion, as we are having both of them in their genius, he continued. Mercedes apparently plans to make numerous changes to their W14 car for race 6 in Imola, and in an effort to close the 67-point gap between them and Red Bull after just 3 races. The team's first podium of the year was achieved by Lewis Hamilton last time out in Australia, while George Russell was forced to retire as a result of a power unit issue. The Silver Arrows are back in action this week for Baku's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, their first sprint weekend of the season. Mike Elliott made a brave attempt as the outspoken supporter and later defender of the car designs that have been so demonstrably ineffective under this new set of standards. But in practice, things turned out differently from how he had initially perceived the situation and had hoped they might. Elliott was never made to look bad by Mercedes or deliberately set up to fail, but in his role as technical director, he was forever associated with the vague and frequently misrepresented car concept. Elliott was skilled at answering inquiries regarding the idea and the sidepod layout that came as stand-in for him. He, team manager Toto Wolff, and even the drivers spent a considerable amount of time publicly defending the decisions made by their organisation that persisted up until 24 hours before Bahrain's season opening qualifying session, which prompted team owner Toto Wolff to swiftly and emphatically, and probably a little too emotionally, denounce the car concept as flawed. As time went on, more remarks concerning different design trajectories that had already been investigated began to surface. Bahrain just contributed to the validation of an already existing alternative course, which is understood to mirror the underlying reality. Elliott's repeated public comments on the idea Mercedes is giving up may have given the impression that he's becoming a smaller and smaller portion of the population, but in actuality he had the power and support of the team to keep going until it was obvious that it was unquestionably going in the wrong direction. Elliott would have contributed to the process when Mercedes opted to shift its design philosophy a few weeks ago, so he hasn't consistently claimed to be right. And that is his will be carried out by burying his head in the sand, his shortcomings, if you can call them that, are more about a general lack of sustainability for the role than a single design decision. With the W14, his technical leadership had one more opportunity to demonstrate that this design orientation had the required potential. The 2023 season then quickly offered sufficient proof to the contrary, but perhaps Elliott could have avoided supporting the incorrect candidate. In fact, perhaps he feels the same way, which is why he floated the idea of James Allison and Elliott switching places. There will be many who believe Elliott's perceived future in his role as a technical director is proof he was a bystander to Mercedes' triumph. That would be unfair and incorrect, but it does highlight the difficulty of succession planning. Elliott joined Mercedes in July 2012 as the company's head of aerodynamics, serving in crucial technical capacities throughout the team's unmatched period of supremacy. When Allison made the decision to leave the F1 field, he was the obvious choice to succeed him. It's all about matching people to their ideal jobs by taking highly competent individuals and making sure they are placed in those. Additionally, Elliott's skills will now be focused on the F1 team and the bigger picture. Whether success made it harder for Mercedes to plan its succession in this case is an intriguing, unanswerable question. Since everything had previously worked so well with Elliott on board, the team was effectively forced to give him a chance. It's refreshing to see a technical director whose time will likely be rightly marked up as a failure not be fully dismissed in the era of football manager style sackings in Formula 1. Both Allison and Elliott would have teamed up to dig themselves out of the jam they have gotten themselves into if it weren't for the expenses gap. Gary Anderson said that, "I don't believe they are as lost as they are constantly telling themselves and others. Since the rule change at the beginning of 2022, Red Bull has merely matured. In fact, 2021 should have served as a wake-up call for Mercedes, but instead it appeared to attribute the entirety of its Drivers' Championship loss to that one final race of the season. According to Anderson, Formula 1 has merely gotten tougher, and the days of having this half-second buffer like Mercedes had for many seasons have gone. I don't think Mike Elliott needs to hang his head in shame, and I don't think James Allison will be the magic bullet. Now that everything is a little bit closer, it will be a close race every weekend between at least the top 4 teams. Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes and Aston Martin will hopefully be the occasional outsider. Let us know in the comment section, what do you think about the team change in Mercedes? Will it be fruitful? If you enjoyed the video, please check out our other videos. Until then, stay tuned.